we do this every night. Hey.
This week, our group had diction, language, style, and mode. There are many characters in the novel, but today we will speak of the ones we believe to ridicule certain aspects of society. We shall also mention some symbolic objects along with explaining why they contribute so much to the actual meaning as a whole. Lastly, we'll talk about the state of mind the book leaves us in and whether it's cynical or not.
Hello class. What I would like to discuss today is that in the last few chapters of Invisible Man, we are presented with the culmination of a few recurring symbols. While there were quite a few other important symbols in these chapters, e.g. the Sambo doll, Jack's false eye, etc., etc., I am going to talk about the briefcase, which has been a part of the story since the very beginning of the novel and is arguably one of the most important symbols. The briefcase, over the course of the story, accumulates many items that symbolize important events to the narrator, like his high school diploma, letters from Bledsoe, the bank, the Sambo doll, etc., etc. Because of all these events being important to the narrator, we could say that the briefcase might be considered a physical version of his mind. So when the narrator leaves his briefcase in a burning building, and it risks his life to save it, we can see that as a last-ditch attempt to keep his sanity. The irony here is, when he is later trapped underground and forced to burn the items in there to make light and heat, he comes to the realization that he is indeed an invisible man. So with the sacrifice of his identity, quote-unquote, and his mind cleared, he finally realizes and comes to embrace his true identity of invisibility. And with that, I pass it over to Paul.
Thank you, Zach. And my question was, what instincts or characters seem to ridicule aspects of society? I chose Invisible Man to ridicule the black society during times of segregation because he was being told what to do under a white-dominated society by many white people such as Norton, Emerson, and Brother Jack. Brother Jack even straight up tells him that we hired you for your voice, not for what you think. And another character to ridicule society is Reinhardt for his multiple identities, because us as young individuals are trying to search for our identities, while Reinhardt has multiples such as a priest, a gambler, a pimp, etc. And he also mocks the Invisible Man for not having one, and he's being mistaken for one that has many. And that's all I have to say to you people and to Brittany.
One of our questions was, does the novel leave us cynical about the possibility of change or hopeful that change can be accomplished, and if so, how? From the start of the novel, we, kind of like I discussed last week, identify with the narrator. Most of us have experienced some kind of societal invisibility. Though we don't experience the racism, we do experience other forms of pressures and invisibility, whether they affect us as strongly as a narrator or not. So the novel begins with the narrator on a beautiful, serene college campus. If you want to apply this specifically to us, that's where most of us plan to be in about a year. And then all of a sudden, Allison takes Invisible Man from a comfortable life to a new absurd environment. I don't know about you all, but that made me really upset. Like, college is supposed to be somewhere where you're happy and you can find yourself and you can learn, and then it was like, bam, he wasn't there anymore. This false scenery began us reading with like a chip on our shoulder. We run into lots of false hope scenarios, like the Brotherhood, which would be the biggest. I went through the novel strongly rooting for the narrator, hoping that he would find himself and change things for his race and in the world. And because he's this young black guy who lives in Harlem and only wants better for himself and his race. And though he may end up content in his little hole of lights, he doesn't make real waves in the movement, and he doesn't even gain a real identity. With all of that said, the novel leaves readers feeling cynical about change. Though change can be thought up and planned and hoped for, we learn from the Invisible Man that changing the world isn't as easy as it seems, and that's pretty cynical. And now we turn it over to Randy.
Why, thank you, Brittany. Now, in summarization, our points began with a prominent symbol within these chapters, which carries even more symbols within it. Now, as Zach has said, the prominent symbol is the briefcase, and an example of one of the smaller symbols in these few chapters is the high school diploma that is within the briefcase. Our next point focused on the reader's cynicism throughout the novel and its development through the novel. And meanwhile, the final point delved within the ridicule of how white society dominated black society within the novel. In conclusion, the points mentioned relate to Ellison's implementation of literary style to society, or how it relates to us as readers. And that's it.